In the year 1900, if you stood on any shoreline on Earth, from Cape Town to Hong Kong, from Bombay to the Falklands, the ship on the horizon was very likely flying one flag, the white ensign, the Royal Navy. 125 years later, a different flag owns the horizon, and the ship beneath it doesn't just carry guns, it carries an air force, a city, a small nation's worth of power, floating. Here's a number that should stop you cold. One modern American destroyer carries more raw destructive power than the entire Royal Navy battle fleet of 1900 combined. Not more ships, not more guns, more power than 400 warships and 100,000 sailors could put to sea. So tonight we're going to do something simple and something that's going to get uncomfortable fast. We're putting the greatest navy of the Imperial Age face to face with the greatest navy that has ever existed, period. Ship for ship, doctrine for doctrine, sailor for sailor. And by the end, you're going to understand something most people never think about. Empires don't collapse because they get weak. They collapse because they stop noticing the moment they've already been made obsolete. To understand the Royal Navy in 1900, you have to understand a policy so arrogant it was written into law. It was called the two-power standard, and it meant exactly what it sounds like. Britain's Navy, by official government policy, had to be as strong as the next two largest navies in the world combined. Not stronger than its nearest rival, stronger than its two nearest rivals added together. Think about that for a second. That's not a military strategy. That's a statement to the entire planet. We do not compete. We simply are the ocean. And here's the part people forget. The Royal Navy wasn't just a military force. It was the infrastructure of the entire British Empire. Every coaling station from Gibraltar to Singapore, every trade route the empire's wealth flowed through, every colony that had to be reachable, resupplied, and controlled, it all depended on this one fleet. Take the Navy away, and the empire doesn't just lose a war, it stops existing within a decade. So what did this ultimate weapon of empire actually look like mechanically? Coal-fired engines, a top speed of around 18 knots, barely faster than a modern container ship. Guns that could hit a target a few miles away if the gunner did his trigonometry right and the sea wasn't too rough. Communication between ships? Flags. Actual signal flags, and on a good day, a blinking lamp. This was cutting-edge technology in 1900. It was also, compared to what's coming in Act 2, essentially the naval equivalent of a horse and carriage, one that happened to rule the world. And the men inside these machines? Life was brutal by any modern standard. Boys as young as 15 recruited straight into service, flogging still a legal punishment within living memory. Officers drawn almost exclusively from Britain's aristocracy, a floating class system complete with its own rigid hierarchy, sailing the world to enforce another one.
But here's the twist that makes this whole story worth telling. In 1906, just 6 years after the moment we're examining, the Royal Navy launched a single ship, HMS Dreadnought, so far ahead of anything else afloat that it made every other battleship on Earth instantly obsolete, including its own fleet. The most dominant navy in human history was about to be rendered outdated by itself. Let that sink in, because it's the thesis of everything that follows. But to really understand what obsolete means, we need to leave 1900 far behind, cross the Atlantic, and cross an entire century of warfare.
The United States Navy doesn't need coaling stations. It doesn't need colonies. It doesn't even need to touch land for most of a decade. Because at the heart of its power sits something the Royal Navy could never have imagined. 11 nuclear-powered supercarriers, each one a sovereign, mobile airbase that can operate almost anywhere on Earth's oceans, refueling not measured in days, but in decades. But here's what almost nobody outside the military understands. The carrier itself isn't really the weapon. The weapon is the strike group. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, bristling with more missile capability than most entire nations' air forces. Ticonderoga-class cruisers, acting as flying eyes and ears. Attack submarines running silent beneath it all. And above everything, an air wing of more than 60 aircraft, including F-35C stealth fighters that most air defense systems on the planet still can't reliably detect. And then there's the part of the story we have to handle carefully and honestly. A single Ohio-class submarine, just one, carries more raw destructive potential than every weapon fired by every side in every war in human history combined. We're not going to dwell on the specifics. We don't need to. The point isn't the number. The point is what it represents. The complete, almost unimaginable gap between the power of 1900 and the power of now. But if you ask actual naval strategists what really separates this Navy from every fleet before it, they won't start with the missiles. They'll talk about information. The Royal Navy of 1900 coordinated with flags across a few hundred meters of open water. The US Navy today coordinates across oceans in real time through satellites, sensor networks, and combat systems that can identify, track, and respond to a threat in seconds, not the hours or days it would have taken in 1900 just to relay a message between ships. Speed of information, not size of guns, is the real weapon of the 21st century. And the sailors themselves have transformed just as dramatically. Where 1900 needed strong backs to shovel coal, 2025 needs engineers, systems operators, and technicians, and all volunteer force, where the most valuable skill isn't strength. It's the ability to read a screen faster than the enemy can react. So now we have our two giants, laid bare. One built an empire. One enforces a global order. And it's time to put them finally head to head.
Let's make this simple, category by category. Let's see exactly how far the gap really runs. Fleet size, 1900, over 400 ships, though most were small cruisers and gunboats built for empire policing, not open battle. 2025, 290 ships, fewer in number, but almost every one of them larger, more capable, and more heavily armed than anything Britain had afloat. Speed, 1900, roughly 18 knots, limited by coal-fired pistons. 2025, over 30 knots, powered by nuclear reactors that never need refueling. Weapon range, 1900, a few miles, limited to what a gunner could actually see. 2025, hundreds, even thousands of miles, missiles and carrier air power that can strike a target the crew will never lay eyes on. Communication, 1900, flags and signal lamps. 2025, real-time global satellite networks. Global reach, 1900, dependent on a worldwide network of coaling stations. Take those away and the fleet is stranded. 2025, nuclear propulsion means total independence from resupply for years at a time. So here's the question everyone watching this has been waiting for. Could the Royal Navy of 1900 stand a chance against the US Navy of 2025? And the honest answer is, this isn't really a fair fight, because it isn't really the same kind of fight at all. Comparing these two fleets in direct combat is a bit like asking whether a medieval knight in full armor could beat a modern soldier. The question itself misunderstands what actually separates them. It's not courage, it's not skill, it's 125 years of technology that didn't exist yet. And that brings us back to the twist we planted earlier. Remember, the Royal Navy of 1900 was made obsolete within just 6 years, by its own country. Power, it turns out, has an expiration date. And the terrifying part is that nobody inside a dominant empire ever believes their expiration date has already been printed. Which raises the only question that actually matters tonight. Not who would win a battle that will never happen, but this: is the same clock already ticking on the fleet we just called invincible?
Here's what actually happened to the Navy that once ruled a quarter of the planet. 2 world wars, the end of empire, and a fleet that shrank from over 400 ships in 1900 to fewer than 20 major surface combatants today. The two-power standard, the law demanding dominance over the next 2 navies combined, is today almost imaginable for a country that now struggles to keep a single carrier group fully staffed. So here's the uncomfortable mirror we have to hold up. Is the US Navy's story destined to follow the same arc? We're not going to pretend to know the answer. Nobody honestly does. But it's worth knowing what naval strategists are actually debating right now. The soaring cost of building and maintaining supercarriers, the rise of cheap drone and missile technology that some argue could threaten a multi-billion-dollar ship with a fraction of its cost, and other naval powers investing heavily in exactly the kind of capabilities designed to close this gap. This isn't a prediction. It's an open question. The same open question the Royal Navy never thought to ask itself in 1900. A young sailor standing on a Royal Navy deck in 1900 could not have imagined a ship without sails, let alone a jet landing on a floating runway. A sailor standing on a U.S. carrier deck tonight probably assumes the aircraft carrier is permanent, unbeatable, eternal. History suggests otherwise. Naval power has never once stayed still for long, and the only certainty tonight is this. Someday, someone is going to sit down and make a documentary comparing this Navy to whatever comes next. Two navies, one empire that believed it would never fall, one superpower that hasn't yet had to find out if it will. If you want to see what happens when naval dominance meets its expiration date head-on, watch our next video, the ship that made an entire fleet, including its own, instantly obsolete, HMS Dreadnought. Subscribe, and I'll see you there.